I'm Fee. Thanks for taking a break with me. We will be starting today with our toes tucked behind you in a kneeling pose. Today's class is all about really relaxing into bodies that might be a little tense or tight from high activity, especially designed for recovery from cross-country skiing. So these poses will help you recover and will offer different benefits than just stretching because of the connectedness of our breath with our movement throughout this whole series of poses. We're starting here because your arches can often get very tight when skiing and also with running too. If you want to make it more intense, inch your knees a little bit further forward. Roll your shoulders back, engage your core. We'll do 3 deep breaths together, inhaling for 4 counts, exhaling for 4 counts. Inhaling for 4 counts. Exhaling for 4. One more deep breath on your own counts. Your inhales. Slowly come to your hands and knees, tabletop position. Place your knees wide, toes touch. Send your hips back, belly between your thighs. Crawl your fingertips forward and rest your forehead on your mat. Sink down into your mat. Continuing with 3 deep breaths. Really sending your breath in areas where you might feel more tense or tight. And really listening to your breath to determine how far and how intense you should be making each pose. One more breath here in child's pose. Crawl your fingertips back. Tuck your toes under you. Sit back, coming into your yoga squat. Bring your heels to the ground if possible. You can always prop a pillow up beneath you if this is too intense. Push your elbows into your knees. Grow tall here. Try not to be hunched and crushed, but really open tall. Breathe deeply here, pressing open, maybe rocking side to side on to each toe, coming high on your toes, and then bringing each heel down, or just shifting your weight gently from side to side. We're bringing some movement back into hips, where maybe there hasn't been much attention from the intensity of your training or the intensity of your work that you've had to do at your desk. Point your toes forward, shifting into a standing forward fold with bent knees. Slowly coming up with control, stopping when you get to a nice bend in your knees where your belly is able to rest on your thighs. Your hips are over your ankles, your fingertips are pressing into the earth. Neck drops down, full release. This can be pretty intense, so be gentle with yourself as we're easing into poses that require a bit more flexibility than what we normally get from just skiing and running all the time. Bring your hands behind your back. Clasp your hands. Slowly lift your hands from the small of your back, rolling your shoulders back. Drop your neck. Belly is heavy on your thighs. Feel the release in your neck. Your legs might be shaking a bit. I know mine are. Very sore. And release your hands with the curl in your spine. Roll up to standing. Pause here. Bring your hands up and around. Big circle like you're holding a beach ball above your head. Tuck your tailbone. Gaze back. And release. Hands to your side. From standing, go to the top of your mat. Inhale, raise your arms out to a T. Exhale, flat back, full, bent knees. Plant your hands, step your right foot back into a high lunge. Place your right hand firmly into your mat as you open up through your left side, stacking your shoulder blades. Gaze as high at your left hand. Sink down into your hips. Breathe deeply into this twist. Your back heel is actively engaged. And release that left hand. Drop your right knee. And we're going to do a little bit of lifting from your core. You can untuck your right toes. Bring your arms to your side. Off your mat. Roll your shoulders back. And slowly peel your chest off your core. And then exhale, come back down. Some micro movement. We're adding to build a little bit more flow into our left hip. It's pretty intense. Great job. Bring your hands back down. Sink your hips a little lower. Rock your hips side to side. And we'll extend our hips back behind us as we peel our left toes up into the sky. Feel free to have a very bent knee with your left leg. I know I do today. It is quite intense to do these things after hard physical activity, but keeping up with this movement will help you become a more agile and athlete that is less prone to serious injury. Coming forward again, rocking your hips side to side, and then back again. Going from an extension to a fold. Breathe deeply here. Once more, rocking forward, sinking your hips, allowing that left knee to extend over or almost over your left toes if you feel comfortable. Full stretch. Come back to a more neutral lunge. Tuck your right toes behind you again. Step your right toes in until you can comfortably come to a slightly straight left leg. Pyramid pose. Send yourself over that left leg. Full extension. Allow your neck to release. Fully relax here. Bend your left knee enough so your hands can plant on the ground. Step your left foot back, coming in to down dog. Bend your knees. Bend, bend, bend your knees. Allow your chest to sink in between your arms. Hips are high. High hips is the most important part of a down dog. Everything else is secondary to the high hips. You can rock a little bit from heel to heel. And find a little bit of stillness, and we'll start to walk our toes a little forward. And then walk them back to your down dog. Roll yourself up and over your hands. Drop your knees. Engage your core as you send your elbows into your side body. Lower down and lift up into a baby cobra. Stay low here, low and light on your hands. Press back to your knees, back to child's pose. One breath here, and then press up, down dog. March your feet to your hands, slow and steady. Bend your knees. Lift your hands and your chest together. Flat back, arms to the sky. Exhale, fold back down to forward fold. This time, stepping your left foot back to that high lunge. High lunge, and then twisting over to your right side, lifting up through your right hand. Breathing deeply into your hip and into your spine. Gaze is high. Drop your right hand back down to the mat. Drop your left knee. Lift your hands up and back to your sides. Gaze is up. Hover your belly above your thigh, growing tall here, and then sinking back down. Micro movement here to bring a little bit of life back into that right hip flexor. One more. Drop your hands, send your hips back, toes heading towards the sky with a bent knee. Remember to follow your breath to guide the intensity of the poses. Yoga is a relatively safe thing to do if you stay true to your breath and don't allow yourself to overdo it. Hey, Anne. Hi. Come forward, sink your hips, grow tall, light on your fingertips, and then send your hips back. One last fold and extension. Once more, coming forward, and then we'll walk our left toes in, tuck them under and pop them in, coming into this pyramid pose. Front knee can be slightly bent. Light on your fingertips, belly rests on your right thigh. Bend your right knee, plant your hands and step your feet back, down dog. Hips are high. Come forward. Shoulders over wrists. Bend your knees down to the mat, hugging elbows into your body. Lower down. Roll up. Baby cobra. Light on your fingers. Come back to your down dog. Or child's pose. Pedal it out and pedal it all the way to bring your feet to your hands. Forward fold with bent knees, flat back, rising to standing. Let's bring our arms all the way up and down to heart center. Shift your weight over to your left leg, becoming balanced on that left foot as you lift up through your right leg. If this is too intense, you can use a friend to balance, or you can use a wall or a chair. We'll first hug that right knee into our chest. Your right foot is flexed and engaged. If you're shaking a little bit on your left side, that's a good thing. Flex and extend through that right foot. Send your ankle and foot back. Holding back, maybe holding back with your left and right hands, coming to your foot. If you're a little wobbly, that's okay. This is great Great training for skiing and anything where you need to balance. Send your elbows back. Shoulders are broad and tall. Release your foot without touching down. Come through back to the front, coming into figure 4, crossing right ankle over left knee, and then sink your hips down. Sink down as much as feels comfortable to you. Bring your hands to heart center. And if you can, sink all the way down. Bring your hands to the mat or a blanket or pillow. A full release here in our hip flexors. This is a pretty hip intense yoga flow because it's focused on these cross-country ski muscles that really are centered around our core. So our hips, thighs, hamstrings, abdominal muscles all take a toll from skiing every day. Slowly come on up. Try to not touch down and bring your foot either to your calf or all the way up to your inner thigh, coming into a balanced tree pose. Might take a little bit to get there because we've been balancing for a long time on our left leg. Hands to heart center or up to the sides in cactus or full extended tree pose. And you're allowed to slowly release. Shake it out, shake it out. We'll repeat this balancing sequence balancing now on our right leg. So coming up through our left leg, hugging in, hugging, flexing and pointing, flexing and pointing. It's another area that gets pretty tight when you ski is in your shin and your ankles. It's good to bring movement back into these areas. Send your ankle back, coming into this really intense quad stretch. Bring your hands to your foot. If your hand's on a wall or on a table or a chair or friend, one hand back is just fine. More important to do the sequence than to skip it if you can't balance and hold on to something. Keep breathing deeply, come back, release, bring forward, cross over, sink your hips, lowering down. Figure 4 either with prayer hands or all the way down, fingertips to the ground. Breathe here, send your hips back here. Hips are back. This is kind of like a standing version of pigeon pose, everyone's favorite. It's a good one to do if you haven't done pigeon in a while. Kind of ease back into it. Light on your fingertips, coming up strong. Transitioning into your tree, either foot on your inner shin or thigh. Come tall, balance. And slowly release and shake it out. Nice. Bring your hips a little wider than hip width distance apart. Point your toes out. And we're going to sink back down into our yoga squat. Shifting your weight a little bit. Hopefully this yoga squat feels a little more relaxed than our first yoga squat of the class. Sinking down. And then allowing your hips all the way to come down to the mat. We're going to do a little bit of stacking here. So bringing your left toes under your right hip and then stacking your knees. This might be a little too intense. If it is, just come into a classic crisscross pose and do the same thing that we'll be doing. So growing tall and then with a flat back, doing a small bend over your cross legs, either stack knees or just normal crisscross pose. Coming down, heavy chest on your legs, or just coming down with that nice flat back. And then once you get to that flat back, you're allowed to curl and come down more if you would like. Final little stretch. Come up, switch sides. Grow tall. And come forward. Final soft breaths before we go end our series of poses in child's pose. Once again, see if we feel a little bit more relaxed after the sequencing of poses. Come forward onto your hands and knees. Send your hips back, child's pose. Notice how your body feels different after doing these series of poses that target our core, our hips, and our upper bodies, loosening them, preparing them to recover and restore for your next adventure. Thank you so much for doing yoga with me. Hope you enjoyed this class and hope to see you again next time. Thank you so much.